Hello students, in this lecture today we are going to continue with chapter 9 Force and Laws of Motion, 9th class physics. Learning outcomes of this lecture are 1. State Newton's second law of motion and derive an expression for force. Hence define force. Second, define the SI and CGS units of force and get the relationship between them. And then we'll be solving the examples 9.1 to 9.5 given in NCERT textbook. Let us see the first question. State Newton's second law of motion and derive an expression for force. So hence define force. Students, you can define Newton's second law of motion. You can write the statement as we have done it in the previous class. What is the Newton's second law of motion? The rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force applied and it takes place in the direction of the force applied. Okay, so you should here first write the statement of this law. I have not written because we have done this in the previous class. Okay, so first state Newton's second law of motion. Now let us see the derivation of force. First give the introduction part. Consider a body in uniformly accelerated motion in a straight line. So let us consider that a body is in motion and it is in what kind of motion? Uniformly accelerated motion, and the motion is along a straight line. Let m be mass of the body, u be its initial velocity. Initial velocity means when time t is equal to 0. Then let a constant force F be applied on it for some time t. When the force is applied for some time t, then obviously the velocity will change. So let us say v is the final velocity after time t and a is the acceleration produced. So you have to mention that it is a case of uniformly accelerated motion and you should introduce these terms before we start with the mathematical part of the derivation. Now, what is initial momentum? We know momentum is the product of mass and velocity of a body. So, initial momentum will be mass of the body into initial velocity u. So, initial momentum is mu. What is final momentum? Final momentum is mass of the body into its final velocity v. So, final momentum is mv. And what is change in momentum? Change in momentum is final momentum minus initial momentum. So, it will be mv minus mu. Now, what is rate of change in momentum? We know whenever we want to get rate of change in momentum, it means we have to divide this change in momentum by time taken for this change. So, rate of change in momentum will be mv minus mu divided by t. Let us take m common out from the numerator. So, it becomes m into v minus u upon t. So, rate of change in momentum is mv minus u upon t. And we know that v minus u upon t is nothing but acceleration because it is rate of change of velocity and that is acceleration. So, instead of that bracket v minus u upon t, we will write a. So, rate of change in momentum is ma. Now, let us use Newton's second law of motion. So, according to Newton's second law of motion, force is proportional to rate of change of momentum. So, force which we have represented by F is proportional to rate of change of momentum, that is ma. Whenever we convert this proportionality sign into equal to sign, we have to multiply one of the two sides with some constant and we call that constant as constant of proportionality. In this case, let us write F is equal to Kma. Let that constant of proportionality be lying on the right hand side. Okay, so it is a rule whenever we remove this proportionality sign and put the equality sign, we should put a constant here. We should multiply one of the sides by constant. Here we are doing it on the right hand side. So where k, you have to write what is k. Where k is a constant of proportionality and K is equal to 1 in SI system of units. Now how K is 1? In the derivation there is no need to write it, but I will explain you here. See, for taking the value of K to be equal to 1, unit force in SI system was defined in this manner. Unit force, unit means 1. Unit force is defined as that force which when acts on unit mass, means 1 mass, produces unit acceleration in it, 1 acceleration in it. So if we take this definition, then putting F is equal to 1, because unit force F is equal to 1, when it acts on unit mass, take M is equal to 1, it produces unit acceleration in the body. So put A is equal to 1. So putting F, A and M each equal to 1 in this expression 1, we get F is 1, M is 1, A is 1. So 1 is equal to K into 1 and we get K is equal to 1. So I have written this in brackets because while writing the derivation, it is not necessary that you have to write this. If you wish, you can mention, but at least you should know how K is taken to be equal to 1. So you can just, after this step, you can just shift here. F is equal to Kma, where K is a constant of proportionality and it is equal to 1 in SI system of units. So now putting the value of K in equation 1, we get F is equal to Ma, because K is now 1. Okay, so this is the final expression that we have got after using Newton's second law of motion. So this is very important formula for force. Okay, now the question was, state Newton's second law of motion, derive an expression for it and hence define force. Hence define force means you have to define force on the basis of this expression. Here you cannot give the qualitative definition of force that we have done in the first lecture. Just try to recall that definition. Force is an external agent in the form of push or pull, which changes or tends to change the state of rest or of uniform motion of a body along a straight line. We cannot write the qualitative definition here. Since the question was derive an expression for force and hence define force, so we'll write the quantitative definition of force. Quantitative definition means formula based, which gives the measurement of force. So here we can write F is equal to ma. It means force is a product of mass of body and acceleration. So force can be defined as force acting on a body is defined as a product of mass of body, m is a mass, and acceleration produced, a is a acceleration. So students, whenever this question comes, even if in the question it is not asked that you have to state Newton's second law of motion, you should state Newton's second law of motion. You should write the introduction and proceed the derivation in the manner we have done it now. And if you are asked to define the force, then you should give this quantitative definition of force. I hope you will remember both the definitions of force, qualitative as well as quantitative. If somebody asks you define force, it is your choice, you can define it anyway. Now, mass is a scalar quantity, acceleration is a vector quantity. So remember that force is also a vector quantity. So force and acceleration both are vector and mass is scalar, which is always positive. It means force and acceleration, they are always having the same direction. So remember that whenever a force acts on the body, acceleration produced is always in the direction of force applied. And if we see acceleration is v minus u upon t. Okay, and if we multiply acceleration by constant m, we get rate of change of momentum. So mv minus mu in the numerator is changing, and for a given t that is fixed, and that is called as change in momentum in the numerator. And hence the statement, the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. This was clear to you. I told you in the last lecture, I'll explain you the next part of the statement, that this change takes place in the direction of the force applied. That you should understand it now, because This change means change in momentum, which indirectly is related with acceleration. So change in momentum has the same direction as that of acceleration, and acceleration has same direction as that of force. Okay, so force, acceleration and change in momentum, all three of them, they are having the same direction, and three of them are vectors. Now our next question is you should be able to define the SI and CGS units of force, and also you should know how to get the relationship between them. So let us see this. Now for getting the units, we always use their formula. So for getting the unit of F, we'll use its formula. F is equal to MA. Now we know that when we want SI unit of F, we'll write on the right hand side the SI units of the physical quantities. So SI unit of M is kg and SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. So here for simplicity I have taken mass as 1 kg and acceleration as 1 meter per second square. So what answer do I get? 1 kg meter per second square. Okay, so kg meter per second square is a unit of MA, and hence this is the SI unit of force. So the SI unit of force is kg meter per second square. But in SI system, it is given a special name and it is called as Newton, in honor of scientist Newton, who has given the 3 laws of motion. Okay, so because this derivation is based on Newton's second law of motion only, and hence the SI unit of force is named after Newton, and so we can write the SI unit of force as Newton. Symbol is capital N. Remember, when we use this not as a scientist name, we are using it as a unit of some physical quantity, here force. Rule is we should start it with small letter n. Okay, but because it is actually the name of a scientist, we know when we use in English it should start with capital letter N. But when it is used as some unit, it should start with small letter. Symbol is capital N. And from this, I can say that 1 Newton is 1 kg meter per second square. So if I ask you, give the SI unit of force, your immediate answer should be Newton. Okay, and if suppose I say you give the basic units of force, fundamental units of force, then you will say kg meter per second square. Okay, now how will define this Newton? Okay, how will define, just to see this expression. Here I have written on right hand side, I have taken each value to be equal to 1. This mass is 1 kg, acceleration is 1 meter per second square, and the answer is here 1 kg meter per second square. But kg meter per second square is Newton, so this is nothing but 1 Newton. So we'll use this expression only, we'll use this method to define Newton. 1 Newton is that force which, when acts on a body of mass 1 kg, produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in it. Okay, so 1 Newton is that force which, when acts on a body of mass 1 kg, produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in it. Similarly, students, when you want to get the CGS unit, then you will again use the same equation, but on the right hand side you will take the CGS units of the physical quantities. So CGS unit of mass is gram, acceleration is centimeter per second square. So we can write that the CGS unit of force is gram centimeter per second square. But again, this is given a special name, dyne, D-Y-N-E. Here there is no specific symbol for it. So you have to write the complete spelling only. That dyne is the CGS unit of force, dyne, and it is also equal to gram centimeter per second square. And for definition of this CGS unit, dyne of force, again I have taken on the right hand side mass to be 1 gram, acceleration to be 1 centimeter per second square, then force is 1 gram centimeter per second square. But gram centimeter per second square is also called as dyne. So then F becomes 1 dyne. So from that, using these same words, I can define 1 dyne. 1 dyne is the force which when acts on a body of mass 1 gram produces an acceleration of 1 centimeter per second square in it. So only by changing this into CGS unit 1 centimeter per second square and taking mass as 1 gram, I can define this 1 dyne, or I can define the CGS unit of force. If the question is just to state the SI and CGS units of force, then you will just write the SI unit of force is Newton. The CGS unit of force is dyne. There is no need to define them. Definition only when they ask. Now let us see next part of the question. You have to get a relationship between Newton and dyne, like meter and centimeter and are SI and CGS units of distance. And you know that 1 meter is 100 centimeter. So let us try to get the relationship between Newton and dyne. So let us take first this. Okay, from here I can write 1 Newton is what? From the definition also I know, from the formula I can write 1 Newton is 1 kg into 1 meter per second square. You do one thing, convert this kilogram into gram. We know that 1 kilogram or 1 kg is 1000 grams. That is 10 raised to 3 grams into 1 meter per second square. CGS unit is centimeter per second square. I want to convert this. So 1 meter per second square is 100 centimeter per second square, which is nothing but 10 raised to 2 centimeter per second square. Now multiply the magnitudes here. The numbers 10 raised to 3 into 10 raised to 2 is 10 raised to 5. Okay, and writing the units separately together, gram centimeter per second square. So 1 Newton is 1 kg into 1 meter per second square. Convert this kg into grams and meter per second square into centimeter per second square. We get that 1 Newton is 10 raised to 5 gram centimeter per second square. But what is 1 gram centimeter per second square? It is dyne. So 1 Newton is 10 raised to 5 times. This is a relationship between the SI and CGS units of force. 1 Newton is 10 raised to 5 times. I hope the concept, the units are clear to you. You can easily state and define the units. You can easily get the relationship between them. And this final answer you should remember because you may require it for the numericals. Students, before we start with the numericals, I want to tell you some important points. Now see here that F is equal to ma, and we know that from this equation we know that F is vector, A is vector and M is positive, it is a scalar. So F and A both are vectors and they are in the same direction. So suppose if a body is moving initially with some velocity u and the constant force F is applied on it for some time. If the force is applied in the same direction of motion of the body, okay, as the body was in this direction initially, moving in this direction, so initial velocity was also in this direction. If the force is applied on the body in the same direction, then obviously from this expression we know that acceleration is also in the same direction. And I have mentioned this before also, when acceleration produced in a body has the same direction as that of motion of a body, then velocity will increase, acceleration will be positive, and we can call this force as accelerating force. Velocity is increasing, case of positive acceleration. When force and acceleration act in the same direction as that of motion of a body. Now if the body is moving with some initial velocity u bar in this direction and force is applied on it in the opposite direction, then in this case acceleration will also be in the opposite direction, that is opposite to the direction of motion of a body. So in this case velocity of a body reduces, means it is a case of retardation. So in this case acceleration will be negative because it will be a case of retardation, and such forces are called as retarding forces. Although both are acceleration only, but this is positive acceleration, we call it accelerating force. This is a case of negative acceleration or retardation, we call this force as retarding force. So this is the case when we give race to the car. This is the case when we apply brakes to the car. Okay. So I hope this is clear to you. Now one thing more. We know that from Newton's second law of motion, F is mv minus mu upon t when we put the value of A. From here, we can take t this side and I get F into t is mv minus mu. Now remember, although this is not in your, this is there, application of this expression is there in your syllabus. This we'll discuss just now. Okay, but it is not given that this thing is given a special name. F into t is a physical quantity called as impulse. Impulse of force or impulse, which is represented by J symbol, is nothing but F into t. And from this we can also say F into t is mv minus mu, change in momentum. So impulse of a force, if someone asks you to define impulse, or in any entrance exam if you see this question, you should know that impulse or impulse of force is a product of force applied and time for which the force is applied. Numerically we can say it is equal to change in momentum. Okay, and what will be the SI unit of impulse? See this expression, J is equal to F into T. So the SI unit of impulse will be Newton second. CGS unit of impulse will be, CGS unit of force is dyne and time is second. So CGS unit of impulse will be dyne second. So although this we have not covered under learning outcomes, but still you should know the answers to these questions. Define impulse, give its SI and CGS unit. Let us see some applications of Newton's second law of motion which they have given in NCERT textbook. They are based on this expression. See, now if suppose this is constant, if the change in momentum is constant, it means F into T is constant. Okay. Then if one of this is reduced, since it is constant, this product is constant, if one of this is reduced, other can be increased. Or by increasing one factor here, other can be decreased. You will understand it better with some examples. Let me explain you. While playing cricket, a fielder, when he catches the ball, so when he catches a ball, you must have seen that he lowers his hand, he moves his hands backward to catch the ball. Why does he do so? Because initially the ball is moving with some velocity u. When he will catch the ball, then the velocity is going to become 0. Means he has to apply force to stop the ball. If he catches the ball keeping his hands in front of him, then time taken to catch the ball, time taken to stop the ball will be decreased, and so force will be increased. Force that he has to apply to stop the ball will be increased. And we will see in the next laws of motion that ball also applies equal and opposite force on his hands. So he might get injured or he will get hurt more if he keeps his hand in front of his body and catches the ball. On the other hand, if he lowers his hand or pulls his hands backwards and catch the ball, then in that case he is increasing the time to stop the ball. So increasing the time means the force on his hands will be reduced automatically. So he will not get more hurt. Similarly, you can also give explanation when a person does high jump. So a person doing high jump is made to fall on sand or mattress or cushioned bed. Why? Because when he does a high jump and falls on cushioned bed, then similarly like the ball is stopped, so automatically he is also going to stop. If it is cemented road or anything very hard on which it falls, then time taken for him to stop will be reduced and force applied by him and also on him by the ground, by the surface of contact will be more and he will get hurt more. He can get injured. But on a cushioned bed or on a mattress, see it is soft, so time taken by him to come to rest will be increased. and automatically force applied by him on that surface and automatically force applied on him by the surface will be reduced. So chances of getting injured are less. So on the basis of this expression, you can give explanation to many such examples. You should be able to use this and give answers to them. Like for example, you should be able to say why a person driving a car or sitting in front of car is advised to wear seat belts. So on the basis of this expression, I think you should be able to explain the concept. Okay. So I'll read example 9.1. A constant force acts on an object of mass 5 kg for a duration of 2 seconds. It increases the object's velocity from 3 meter per second to 7 meter per second. Find the magnitude of the applied force. Now, if the force were applied for a duration of 5 seconds, what would be the final velocity of the object? As usual, I'll read it for the second time and then we will write what is given. You should write it. A constant force acts on an object of mass 5 kg. So, given mass m is 5 kg. For a duration of 2 seconds, time t is 2 seconds. It increases the object velocity from 3 meter per second to 7 meter per second. So u is 3 meter per second and final velocity v is 7 meter per second. What you have to do is you have to find the magnitude of the force applied. So F you have to find out. And also you have to write if the force were applied for a duration of 5 seconds. So if F is applied, this F is applied for time t dash is 5 seconds. What would be the final velocity v? Okay, and I can write v dash there. Since I have taken t dash, I can write v dash there. Now, any conversion required? No, everything is in SI system of units. So use the formula from Newton's second law of motion. Use a formula for F. F is ma and a is v minus u upon t. Now put the value of m, v, u and t from here, from given. After doing the calculation, we get the answer for force as 10 newtons. If you don't write the unit, you will lose marks. So write the unit along with the answer. So we have got force. Now next part is if force is applied for time 5 seconds, what is the velocity? V dash. So write the formula once again, but in this case, V dash and T dash, U will remain same. Okay, we have to continue with this only. U will remain same. So a mass is same, U is same, F is same that we have got here 10 Newton. After putting the value of all these terms, we will get the value of V dash. So 10 is equal to m is 5 into V dash minus 3 divided by T dash is now 5. So 5 will get cancelled. 10 is V dash minus 3. So V dash is 10 plus 3, that is 13 meters per second. Okay. Now example 9.2. It is which would require a greater force, accelerating a 2 kg mass at 5 meter per second square or a 4 kg mass at 2 meter per second square. I'll repeat it. You should write example 9.2 given, which would require a greater force, accelerating a 2 kg mass, 2 kg m1, I have represented it by m1, at 5 meter per second square, and 5 meter per second square is acceleration, so I have used a1. Why I have used m1 a1? Because I have one more set of values. Okay. So which would require a greater force, accelerating a 2 kg mass at 5 meter per second square or 4 kg mass at 2 meter per second square. So m2 is 4 kg and acceleration a2 is 2 meter per second square. They have asked which would require a greater force. Obviously, we have to find here force F1 and force F2 and see which is greater force. So using Newton's second law of motion, F1 is m1a1. Just put the value of m1a1. So we get the answer for F1 as 10 Newton and F2 by putting the value of m2 and a2 and using Newton's second law, I get F2 as 8 Newtons. 10 Newton is greater than 8 Newton. So let us write answer the way they have asked the question. Accelerating 2 kg mass at 5 meter per second square would require a greater force. as F1 is greater than F2. Example 9.3. A motor car is moving with a velocity of 108 km per hour and it takes 4 seconds to stop after the brakes are applied. Calculate the force exerted by the brakes on the motor car if its mass along with the passengers is 1000 kg. So here students, I'll read the question once again and you should be able to write what is given. Okay, so now I'll read it once again. A motor car is moving with a velocity of 108 km per hour. So given u is, initial velocity is 108 km per hour and it takes 4 seconds to stop. So time taken is 4 seconds. To stop means final velocity is 0 meter per second. After the brakes are applied, calculate the force exerted by the brakes on the motor car. If mass along with the passenger is 1000 kg, mass of the car. So total mass of the car with the passengers m is 1000 kg. You have to find the force applied. This force is applied by brakes. Okay. So first of all, you should read the question twice. Write what is given, what you have to find out. Then see if any conversion is required. Yes, here we have to convert it into SI units, meter per second. So we can multiply it by 5 by 18 and the final answer here is U becomes 30 meter per second. Now we can use Newton's second law of motion. F is equal to ma. A is V minus U upon T. So put the value of m from here 1000 into b is 0 minus u is 30 divided by t 4. So 4 cancel this, it becomes 250. In the bracket we get minus 30 and after calculation f is found to be minus 7500 Newton. So we have got the answer. You can also mention here that force is negative because it is a case of retardation and hence this is a retarding force. Now let us read example 9.4. A force of 5 Newton gives a mass m1, an acceleration of 10 meter per second square and a mass m2, an acceleration of 20 meter per second square. What acceleration would it give if both the masses were tied together? So let us write what is given. A force of 5 Newton. So F is 5 Newton. It gives a mass m1 and acceleration of 10 meter per second square. So when this force is applied on mass m1, acceleration, let us say a1 is 10 meter per second square and a mass m2, an acceleration of 20 meter per second square, means on mass m2 this force produces acceleration a2 is 20 meter per second square. Question is, what acceleration would it give if both the masses were tied together? So what is the acceleration a if both the masses are tied together? Now in the first case, what we can do is same force is applied on the two bodies having different masses and so different accelerations are produced. So let us use Newton's second law of motion and write F is m1a1, and so that why I have not taken F1, because force is same in both the cases. So we can write F is m1a1 and also F is m2a2. So now put the value of F and a1, you will get the value of m1. And m1 is found to be 0.5 kg. Similarly, by using F is m2a2 and putting the value of F 5 Newton and acceleration a2 as 20 meter per second square, we get m2 as 0.25 kg. Students, see here, I have started directly because what is given is, everything is given in SI system only, so no conversion is required. Okay. So from these, what is given, we have found what is m1 and what is m2. Now what was the question? What is the question? Find the acceleration if both the masses are tied together. Tied together means m mass is m1 plus m2. So using the same formula, but now we will write F is masses are tied together. So what is the mass? m1 plus m2. The two masses are tied together into A. A is the acceleration produced that we have to find out. Now put the value of F as same force they have said, 5 Newton. Putting the value of m1, m2, we can find the value of A. So A comes out to be 5 upon 0.75 and it is 6.666. We can round it off to 2 decimal places as per rules. So acceleration is 6.67 meter per second square. So I hope you have understood this, and let us now do the last numerical of today's lecture. Now example 9.5. In this case, the velocity time graph of a ball of mass 20 gram moving along a straight line on a long table is given in this figure. Okay, so this graph is given. It represents velocity time graph of a ball of mass 20 gram which is moving along a straight line on a long table. How much force does the table exert on the ball to bring it to rest? So now let us write what is given. First of all, we should know that this graph is speed time or velocity time graph. Speed time or velocity time as the ball is moving along a straight line only. So this velocity time graph is of ball of mass 20 grams. So mass is 20 gram. Okay, you have to find how much force does it exert, table exert on the ball to stop it. So F you have to find out. Stop it means velocity is final velocity.